Today, we are back with a very interesting discussion on working capital. And before getting into other aspects of working capital, I want to start focusing with inventory. Now, the decision on inventory is a crucial one for any entity which is into manufacturing or which is into trading, not so much for the service sector. Inventory is basically my stock. The decision that I have to make is how many units should I order every time? How many orders should I place? And at what level of stock should I place my next order? All of these questions are going to be discussed at this point. Now, the tussle between liquidity and profitability remains one of the key points while making any decision. If I have a very high inventory level, I have a couple of benefits. If a new customer walks into my store and he asks for something, because I have a bumper stock, I can give him whatever he has asked for, and the customer will not return empty handed. I will be able to achieve my sales targets, and of course, the top line in my profit and loss account will increase. But having a very high level of inventory does not come without its problems. When the level of inventory is high, you need a larger storage space. So there are storage costs involved. If the inventory is perishable inventory, you might need refrigeration charges or similar other expenses to be incurred. So on one hand, your customer is happy, your customer is satisfied, but there is a huge amount of money that is locked in inventory, and this money will get released only when the inventory is sold. Plus, these holding costs are relatively higher. You could have another model where the inventory levels are not so high. But when the inventory levels are not high, what if suddenly on one specific day you have a large number of customers coming in? They ask for a specific item, you don't have it in stock. So the customers return home empty handed, which means the customers are dissatisfied, and that might impact your credibility and your future ability to make sales. But there is a positive also. Your funds do not remain locked in inventory for a longer duration. Plus, your holding cost, your storage costs are also lower. The decision on inventory is basically a decision to optimize these two costs. On one hand, you have to think about liquidity. On the other hand, you have to think about profitability. And if the amount of inventory, if the inventory levels are high, then the holding cost is high. Holding cost is high. What does that mean? The cost of storage, the cost of stores administration is high. Plus, you run the risk of theft or obsolescence or pilferage. So, you might have to appoint a staff basically to take care of the inventory, to look after the warehouse. On the other hand, where inventory levels are low, you do face certain challenges there also. So, there is lost contribution. What do you mean by lost contribution? If you don't have enough stock, then customers come to you, they are unhappy because you are not able to meet their demand, and they return home empty handed, which means you have lost out on an opportunity to make a sale. If you don't have enough raw material and there is a sudden spike in the demand of commodities, then the production will come to a halt till you have a fresh inflow of raw material, and you will not be able to process any emergency orders also. So both sides have their own pros and cons. Having high inventory has its pros and cons. Having low inventory has its pros and cons. The question that I am now faced with is I'm faced with multiple questions. The first question that I'm worried about is every time I place an order, how many units should I order? And that decision depends upon two specific items, one of which is the holding cost and the other one is the ordering cost. Now let's take an example. I am, after I go home, I'm usually hungry naturally and I want to place an order. Okay, I open my Zomato and I see on the MACD app one burger. I place an order. The burger is for 100 rupees and there are 50 rupees of delivery charges. That one burger comes, I eat it, I have paid 150 rupees. After another half an hour, I'm not fully satisfied after eating that burger. So I order another veg pizza McPuff and something else. So again, I have to incur 50 rupees worth of ordering cost. After another half an hour, I'm still not fully satiated. So now I place an order for a Coke and a muffin. Again, I have to pay 50 rupees worth of delivery and ordering cost. Every time I place an order, I have to keep on paying the ordering cost. Now think about it this way. I realize, okay, every time Satyamit you are ordering, you are paying 50 rupees worth of ordering and delivery cost. I don't want to incur so many costs. So what I decide is I will place an order for 15 days of burgers in one go. 15 दिन का मैं order आज ही रख दूंगा. So I will have to incur the delivery charges only once. Or 15 days का food will be available with me. I will incur delivery charges only once, but 15 days worth of food will be available with me. That's okay. I'm saving on delivery cost. But when 15 days worth of burgers are delivered to me, what do I do with them? I cannot let them remain outside. They will get spoiled in 24 hours. So now I have to refrigerate them. Maybe even refrigeration might not help. I might have to defreeze them. I might have to deep freeze them because it's a perishable item. It contains potatoes and vegetables and all of that, which is bound to get spoiled very quickly. So while I have saved on the ordering cost, I have incurred a very heavy holding, storage, and refrigeration cost. And if I don't have a refrigerator, I will have to go and buy that refrigerator. So, saving on ordering cost on one hand has led to an increase in the holding cost for that particular item. Let's think about it in another way. What if I decide I don't want to spend on a refrigerator? I don't want to store material. Every time I want to eat something, I will place an order. I want to save on the holding, storage, and all of those costs. But then every time I'm hungry, I have to pay 50 rupees. So, as a finance manager, this problem is causing me a lot of headache. If I order in one go, I save on ordering cost, but then the holding cost and the storage cost goes up. I spend on a refrigerator, so that is a very heavy holding cost, then the ordering cost goes down. But at any given point in time, I'm not able to decide how many units should I order in one go so that the overall cost is minimum. Now, every business entity would always think from this perspective only. What what should I do in order to have the maximum cost saving? Here, my question is how many units should I order in one go so that my ordering cost and my holding cost, both of these are at a bare minimum? And the one number, the one magic number which helps me to arrive at this quantity is known as the economic order quantity. What is that one specific quantity? What is that one specific number of units that I can order so that my ordering cost and my holding cost both are kept at a bare minimum? Now, ordering cost, if you open your Zomato app, you will see restaurant and packing charges and delivery charges. Holding cost could be in the nature of storage cost, handling cost, and all of these costs. Now, there is a simple formula that will help you to calculate the economic order quantity. What is that formula? That formula is square root of 2 into annual demand into order cost per order divided by holding cost per unit per annum. This entire thing is in the bracket. You have to take square root of that. Now pay attention to a couple of points. Here the formula says annual demand. In the question to confuse you, they will often give you monthly demand or weekly demand. Ensure that you convert it into annual demand. Then they are talking about order cost per order. Every time you place an order, how much cost do you incur? And the third cost is holding cost per unit per annum. Again, the measures are very important. Here it is ordering cost per order, holding cost is per unit per annum. And once you have all of these ingredients in the formula, simply plug in the values and you will get your answer. Now, when the number of units ordered is the number of units as per economic order quantity, at that point the total of holding cost and the total of borrowing cost is at a bare minimum. Okay, and that by doing that, we end up achieving our objective of having the cost minimized to the best extent possible. So economic order quantity again is that quantity which when ordered leads to the lowest ordering cost and the lowest holding cost. Another point that we will prove very soon is that at the economic order quantity, the total holding cost and the total ordering cost are always the same. No exceptions to this rule. Now, when we calculate the economic order quantity, there are a couple of assumptions that we need to keep in mind. The first one is that the demand is known and remains constant. A slightly questionable assumption. Demand might be known, but it will not always remain constant. Demand can change. The lead time is known and constant. Now, what is lead time? Lead time is basically the time difference or the time lag between placing the order and the delivery of the item. Now, when you place an order on, say, Swiggy Instamart, it's a grocery delivery platform. They usually take 8 to 9 minutes to deliver your order. That means the lead time is 9 minutes. If I place an order on Amazon and they take 2 weeks to deliver that item, the lead time is 2 weeks. So lead time is the time difference between placing the order and execution or delivery of the order. So that lead time is known and it is constant is the second assumption. The third assumption is that the purchase price is constant and there is no buffer inventory. Buffer inventory is basically your safety stock. We will look at a couple of questions where there is buffer inventory in the question, and that question will have to be dealt with in a slightly different manner. Now, let's look at a very basic question which expects you to calculate the economic order quantity. Okay. Now, what is that uh, basic calculation? Let's have a look at it. A company requires 1000 units of material X per month. The cost per order is 30 regardless of the size of the order. So whether you order 1000 units or you order 10,000 units or you order whatever, the ordering cost remains the same at 30 per order. And the holding costs are 2.88 units per annum. Now, how do you calculate economic order quantity? Economic order quantity is square root of 2 times into annual demand into ordering cost per order divided by holding cost per unit per annum. Okay, so EOQ, economic order quantity, now we have to first of all tabulate all the requirements that the formula contains. For example, the formula says annual demand and the question says a company requires 1000 units of material X per month. So units required per month is 1000. You need how many units per month? You need 1000 units per month. So what is the annual demand? The annual demand is, if per month the demand is 1000, the annual demand is going to be 1000, 12,000. So 1000 per month into 12 months. Now, this is my annual demand. What is the order cost per order? The order cost per order is 30. So order cost per order. Order cost per order is 30. So let's keep it at 30 regardless of the size of the order. And luckily the question gives you holding cost per unit per annum. That is also given to you. That is basically 2.88. The holding cost per unit per annum is 2.88. Now, what I have to do is I have to take the square root. Okay, I have to, for economic order quantity, what do I need? I need the square root of 2 into annual demand into order cost per order divided by holding cost per unit per annum. Now pay attention to how I do it. Okay. So here I'm just writing 1 by 2. I'll tell you why I'm doing it. Just give me a moment. So 2 into annual demand 12,000 into order cost per order 30 divided by holding cost per unit per annum 2.88 raised to 0.5. Why raised to 0.5? See, I have to take the square root. Taking the square root, that is square root is the same as square root of 25 is equal to 25 raised to 1 by 2. Basic terms, basic idea from the laws of indices. So how did I do it? Let me show you once again. 2 into annual demand into order cost per order upon holding cost per unit per annum raised to 0.5. That is square root. The answer is 500. Now, what is 500? 500 is our economic order quantity, which means when you order 500 units at a time, you end up having the lowest possible order cost or lowest possible order cost and lowest possible holding cost. My endeavor is to keep them at a bare minimum. When I order 500 units, my order cost and my holding cost, both of them are the lowest, and consequently, the total cost of this inventory is also the lowest. Now, let's check our calculation for order cost. Okay. What is the total units? Total units demanded is 12,000. What is order quantity or order size? How many units am I ordering? I'm ordering 500 units in one go, which means what is the number of orders? Number of orders will be total units demanded upon order size. 12,000 upon 500, that is 24. Do you know the order cost per order? The order cost per order is 30. So, what is my total ordering cost? My total ordering cost is 24 orders into 30 per order, 720. Now, let's see what happens to the holding cost. Okay. Now, in case of holding cost, what is my order size? My order size is 500. If my order size, that is one time when I place an order, I order 500 units. What is my average inventory? I'll explain this to you in a minute. Let me just complete the calculation. Then I'll explain you the significance of average inventory. Average inventory is order size upon 2. This is order size upon 2. Average inventory is 250. Now, what is the holding cost per unit per annum? Holding cost per unit per annum is 2.88. Okay, so now let me see what is my total ordering cost. My total ordering cost will be 250 into 2.88, that is 720. What did we discuss at the very beginning? We did discuss that at the economic order quantity, the total ordering cost and the total holding cost are the same. If you observe at EOQ, which is 500 units, the total ordering cost is 720. The total holding cost is 720. Now you need to understand why did I calculate average inventory. Now, how much do I get when I place an order? I get 500 units. Okay. Now gently follow the line of thought. This is 0. I have ordered 1000 units. Now these 1000 units get used. I ordered 500 units, they get sold, and then the inventory level again drops to 0. Then I place another order for 500 units, my stock is replenished. I am again at 500 units. I again sell these units, the inventory level drops down, reaches 0. Again, I will place an order, it will go up. I place an order, I get one consignment of 500 units. I get one consignment of 500 units. 500 units are delivered in my warehouse. Now, what do I do next? I start using it. Again, I sell it. The inventory level drops to 0 and I again place an order and it comes up. Basically, what I'm trying to point out or what I'm trying to say here is that inventory level is neither at 500, neither is it at 0. Once The order is delivered to me. I have 500 units. Then they start getting used. They come down to zero. Again, I place an order. My stock levels go up. So basically, what is happening is that my stock level goes up when my order is delivered, and then it comes down over a period of time. So at any given point of time, on a random day in a month, if I were to ask you how many units on an average do you have, you cannot say 500. You cannot even say that I have nothing in my stock. I If I want to calculate the holding cost somewhere has to be for the average level of inventory in my warehouse. Neither will I have 500, because 500 is the quantity when the material is delivered. I get the material delivered, I start selling the material, material comes in, starts getting sold. So what is the average level of inventory? The average level of inventory is somewhere in the middle. The average level of inventory is neither 500, neither is it zero. It is somewhere in the middle of these two. Exactly depends on how many units are sold at any given point in time, but somewhere kahin na kahin it lies around the midpoint of these two, which is why we do not calculate holding cost on 500, neither do we assume that holding cost is on zero. At any given point of time, on an average, I would have 250 units in stock, which is why I always calculate my average inventory whenever I have to calculate the total holding cost. So when I have to calculate my total holding cost, it is average inventory into holding cost per unit per annum. And this is my formula for economic order quantity: square root of 2 into annual demand into order cost per order divided by holding cost per unit per annum. There are some nuances to the calculation of holding cost. We'll learn that very soon. So keep this formula in mind. It will be useful in a lot of situations for a lot of questions.